Hello, today students is lesson number 12 and I'm going to introduce you to pen and ink, and we're going to do some shading with it. It's a little trickier than pencil because pencil you can erase and you can press harder or lighter to make light and dark tones. So these are some practice techniques for pen and ink I'm going to show you, and we'll go over some of these. And there's different techniques for pen and ink. So for example, on here where you see the dots, that's stippling. And they've done less dots up here, more dots, and then more dots to make it go from light to dark. Okay? You can do the same thing in this technique. This is called hatching. Okay? Here is still hatching. They've made the lines go different ways. Here is cross-hatching, where you go one way and then with your ink pen you're going to go another way, and that creates shading. So down below here you can see how just putting the lines a little thicker, we're going over them and less, it goes from light to dark. Here's one with stippling. The stippling takes a little bit of time doing all those thousands of dots, but it turns out really neat. And then when you combine some of these technique in artwork, some of these techniques, it looks really cool. So if we get to it, we're gonna try, or I'm gonna have you guys try, and here's some different pen and ink techniques and with shading. So I still have the light bulb, and I use scribbly lines, I use the stippling, the dots, I did the hatching and cross hatching to make that edge look darker. And then I just had fun combining some different techniques, the scribbly lines in the background of these mushrooms, and then some hatching marks. Here's another one with a combination of techniques with stippling for the eye, it's a cat's eye, and then some, it's hatching marks but they're curved, so it looks like fur. Okay, so let's try this. You do need a Sharpie, and if you have an ultra fine point Sharpie or anything smaller, that's great. Okay, let's get started. Okay, first we're gonna start off with some practice techniques, and I wanted you to see this pelican. I've probably shown a lot of you students. They have done the same pelican in 6 different ways, 7 different ways. So even scribbly, using the lights and darks, it still looks like a pelican head. The stippling, like I told you, is going to take a long time for the dots. And I just used an ultra fine point Sharpie. Remember not to press too hard because it will smash. It's a felt tip. So crisscross lines kind of looking the way the feathers, or you can do fur like that. Wavy lines, they're kind of like contour lines, like going around his body. Here's some contour lines also, and hatching, cross hatching. Okay, parallel lines. So that's shows all the different techniques for pen and ink. And what you can do is, if you can open your pen, yes. I'm going to set that aside because we're not doing that project. But on just a practice piece of copy paper, you can practice some of these techniques. Just make your samples, your practice samples, you know, maybe like a small square. And what I do is just make all these lines at the same angle. If I want to make an area look darker, I can also put the lines closer together. To go lighter, I can make them farther apart. So that's called hatching. And that's both of these samples. Now, to do cross hatching, it's kind of like, think of an X. I'm going to go a different way, and that is going to make an area look darker. I could even go a third way to make it look even darker. I'm hoping you guys can see this. So now, for something like the box, if you do stippling, you're going to draw it in pencil first. It's a cube. They made it like this. So that's parallel to that. Okay. And then if my light source, like on this one, is coming from over here, then I'm just going to do a few dots on the top where the light's hitting it the strongest. And I'll do more dots, stippling dots, in this part of the cube. You see how this could take a while. It's a lot of tapping. So I'm very lightly touching the surface, so I don't want to smash the tip of the Sharpie. These two are looking very similar, so I can't take away dots. I can only add more dots. Okay, and then there, you can do the shadow too. A broken hatching is, you'll see if in the studio I have some of the kids doing a barn, and it might look like the wood on the side. This is broken hatching. Okay. Over here, I have the scribbly lines are really kind of fun. So you can practice, you know, just doing scribbly lines that all are connected and looped together. Try going lighter by making them farther apart. Overlapping them to make them look darker. So you wouldn't believe some of the pictures I've seen where they use this technique, and it really looks awesome. All right, let's get started with this. I do want you to try and practice as many of these as you can, because that'll help before you go on to the final project. So this is just cardstock paper. My practice was just on copy paper. If you have a T-square ruler, it'll help with these lines. So to divide it up in sections, what I did is, the paper is 8.5 by 11, and to get the center line, if you make 2 marks on your paper, half of 8.5 is 4 1/4, and so if you make 2 marks, you're going to have that be a nice straight line. And for that I did use this fatter Sharpie. I want to save the tip on my nice fine Sharpie. Okay, then what I did to divvy it up into these spaces, I think they're about 2 inches. So you're going to go down your page and make a mark about every 2 inches. Oh, I have extra. Oh well. And then you do the same thing on the other side of the paper so that your line ends up nice and perpendicular to this line. Okay. Then I'm going to take, my fat Sharpie and put my ruler on both where I made the marks. If they're not exactly straight, don't worry. This is just practice. It looks narrower. It's about the same. Okay, so when you start these, you're gonna start with a pencil, because these objects, if you started with a Sharpie and you make a mistake, you're not going to be able to change a Sharpie. So on there, I have the light source, so I know which way to make the shadows. And I just did like a sphere. Plus, the other reason you don't want to use a Sharpie right now is because you really don't want an outline around this, around some of them. Some of them I did. Okay, and my cube, I'm gonna just do it this way and not worry about perspective right now. That's parallel to that. This one's parallel to that one and that one. And then I did, I did this one. This is like a cylinder, cup shape. The pear, you can do a smaller and a larger circle overlapping, so you end up with this shape of a pear. Now I'm drawing dark so you guys can see, I hope. Oh, I did another, okay, this cylinder is kind of like a barrel shape. This would be an oval too, but I'm just putting the bottom one like that. And then the birds are usually oval body, circle head overlapping, and then I did the tail, the beak. This kind of looks like a seagull. Okay. The tree's kind of fun. There's a nice picture of the tree in here. And you can tell the light source on this one a little bit is on this, coming from this side. You can make up your own branches. Okay, the cat eye. They have this shape of a pupil. And then, oh, these were fun, these mushrooms. So it looks like, doesn't that look like a bean? A lima bean? Okay, there you have it. Now, so on this one, notice I curved the lines. But you can start out with the sphere, and then at the end you're gonna erase your pencil lines when you're all done. It's really easy to start out with the darkest part. I don't always recommend starting out with the darkest, because for whatever reason everything gets really dark. And so out here I'm just gonna put a few dots. Okay. And there's the shadow because the light source is coming from this direction. More dots down where the light can't get to it. See? The cross-hatching is kind of fun, I think. Now you can use a finer point Sharpie than what I have. The lines get a little thinner. And here's the cross-hatching to make that side look darker. And here's my shadow, my cast shadow. Usually it's the darkest right under here. Okay. Oh, I had fun with scribbly lines, so this isn't quite straight. Well, I don't have a light section on the cone shape. I'm going fast through these. You guys, you can rewind the video, take your time with them. Okay, so the light source again is from over here. And I'm going to do some curved hatching lines, or you can call these graded lines, where the line's kind of broken up. And then I'm going to do more lines on this edge. I did put a few over here. I don't know that I needed it though. And then inside, the light can't reach in there, so that's a little darker. Okay. Okay, I got a scribbly pair. So I'm going to lighten this. No, I'll leave it. I'll lighten it later. Less lines on this side. Less scribbly lines. Medium scribbly lines. Lots more scribbly lines on this side. By the way, you guys, thank you. Some of you are sending me your pictures. I love it. They're turning out really fun. I can't wait to get back into the studio, so things might open up soon. Maybe, I'm crossing my fingers, mid-June. So we'll see how that goes. For when they tell us, it's a-okay. Okay, on this one I did a little differently. I did cross-hatching here. So I went one way. And then to get darker, remember, like an X, like you're making an X, go another way, over. And I think I'll do the same here for the shadow. Shadow's really dark right there. Okay. Okay, the tree. Light source. I didn't really show it good on this one, but this is the darker side of the tree. And these are just kind of wavy lines I'm making that overlap. And less lines on this side. I have a cool project I want to do with you guys in the videos. First of all, my student Royce, she called and Zoomed me and we talked for like an hour. It was so cool. And she shared me her picture she was doing, but I said, I'm going to dedicate one of the next videos to you. And what's your favorite thing? So we're going to do a mermaid and a turtle. Maybe not in pen and ink, but we'll see. Okay, then I did put some leaves. I think I'll just do them scribbly. Now you can tell I'm going super fast. Another fun thing I want to do is more of a craft project, but I did this in a workshop. And you can make paper using shaving cream and food coloring. It makes a really neat pattern. So there's so many things that I want to get to. I'm doing dots, stippling dots for the cat's eyeball. And then I'm going to do some for the shadow of his eye, because his upper lid is making a shadow on that part of the eyeball. And then I'm doing the fur with hatch marks, going the way that the fur would go on the cat. Some longer ones. I'm gonna get it darker in here. Okay, the last but not, oh no, we have two left. We have the bird. He has some cross hatching going on. And then to make the little stripes on his feather, I went over them double. Shadow. Probably this part of his body would be darker. His eyeball. And then the backs of his legs, because the light source is from over here. So you see, later I'd erase these pencil lines that are showing up to clean up the image. Okay, last but not least is the mushroom. So you know how these are going to be curved the way the mushroom is growing from like the top down. And then around the edge, I put some of these. There's a shadow because it's making, the light source is, oh man, I didn't put the light source, but, oh, where's the light coming from? Where do you think? I'll give you a hint. Look at under the mushroom. It looks like it's coming from above. Same on this guy. Have a little separation there. Like 2 lines. Now the scribbly lines is what I did just to fill in all the background. I wasn't sure it was going to work, but I think it turned out kind of cool. These ones are going to go this way. And then all in here, I just kept going and going and going until it made the mushrooms pop out, because the mushrooms are pretty light, and so I wanted the background to be dark. And I got next to the edges. You can go super fast like I am, but when I did these, I didn't go this fast. I'm just trying to get the video not to be too long. I call these crazy lines. See how I kind of went back over it because the mushroom wasn't really showing up. Oopsie. So I made it darker behind it. That's a trick that a lot of artists do to get their subject matter to show up, is if the object they're painting or drawing is fading into the background and you can't see, tell the difference between the background and the object you're doing, you can come in and either like make the object a little lighter right next to or darker so that it pops out. There we have it. I think I like my other mushroom better, but that's okay. Still looks like a mushroom. Yay! We're finished. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is a pen and ink teddy bear. And that'll be really fun. This is good practice though. All right, you guys. I will see you next time.